Who is with Vinny Fiorenza? There's a lot he doesn't know. There's a lot he wants to know. This is a podcast where he tries to learn from people who know things he doesn't. He'll be focusing on people from the worlds of business, entertainment, and the arts. His guests are people he finds fascinating and that he believes will bring value to others. Join him on the journey on finding out who is.
When people aren't entrepreneurs or artists, they're always concerned if you're not taking the right path.
Where was the first time you performed?
It was a karate dojo.
No way.
I feel like if your back's not against the wall, you're never gonna figure it out.
Yeah, I can't get over how much you do. It's unreal.
It's just legendary, like old wood.
Yeah.
You just walk in there, you can just smell like the history there.
It's time for the podcast with Tyler Boone of Boone's Bourbon, Boone's something else, and Boone some more in the future. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from, origin story of Tyler.
Well, thanks for having me, man. The day you and I met, we met at the studio.
Crazy.
Right? That was a couple months ago with Joe Girard. But yeah, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. Lived in LA for since 2019, but I'm moving back to Nashville. I lived there before.
Nice.
Play music, entrepreneur. I own a bourbon company called Boone's Bourbon. Under that, we have a beer called Boone's Beer. It just, like in 2 weeks, it's getting canned again. We're launching it. I own a music festival called a Homegrown Holy City Fest in Charleston. We say homegrown on the beer and the bourbon. And then I own a label services company called Artist Forma. It's also like my publishing company for my own music. But yeah, man, I just, just working all the time.
Yeah, Tyler's nonstop, over the top. Like I was just saying before we started, I don't think I've met someone who probably works slightly harder than me. I'm like working to, when I grow up, I kind of want to be like Tyler. So
at that pool party, you and I were like, dude, brother, like,
yeah.
I love you, dude. Let's work together. It's always people are drunk, like, we should start a company together, man. And the next day, they're like, dude, I can't get up.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, yeah, man, thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to get into all that. I have it on my handy dandy sheet over here. But tell us a little bit about Tyler growing up. How would your friends describe you growing up as a young kid? Out in Charleston.
You know, I've always been like a nice kid. Like I was never like, running around doing stupid stuff. No, I was always like a nice kid. You know what I mean? But then I did sports. But then I really got into music. But I've always been kind of one of those kids where maybe I would talk about something too long. Like, oh man, I got this idea, and I think it's definitely translated into like my life of like, in a good way, like being obsessive, like I'm gonna start a company, and I could tell like there'd be some friends like, all right, man, I got it. Like, can we go get some Taco Bell or whatever? Like, as a young kid, but then, I think a way too of getting older and friends and stuff like that, it's not best to have a ton of friends. It's best to have just a good group of friends. And so I still have some friends like, dude, like, and some of us now we work together and stuff. So yeah, man, I was just a young kid just doing things. I came from a small town. Don't tell anybody. It's right outside of Charleston called Goose Creek, South Carolina. Goose Creek. And there's a car commercial saying, come on down to Goose Creek, Stokes Kia. It is the freaking worst, man. And then I remember in college, like when I was like a freshman, sophomore, and maybe we're at a party and there's like a little bit of drinking. I'd be like talking to a girl. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Charleston. And my friends would walk up and be like, no, he's from Goose Creek. And I'm like, damn it. Like, it just blow up your spot. And the girl would be like, see. I was like, shit, so. But yeah, man. But have you been in Charleston? You ever been down there?
No, hopefully at some point I'll come to your is that where the festival is? Yeah,
September 23rd. Right? Cool. We're about to announce it, I think in a week. So.
Cool. Yeah, we'll get to all that and more. With your family growing up, you eventually became an artist. Did they have a big influence in that?
My dad was always very supportive. My mom was supportive too, but she was protective because my uncle played, and she's like, hey, whatever. When people aren't entrepreneurs or artists, they're always concerned if you're not taking the right path, and that,
for sure.
And so, but then once they see you start making money or paying your bills, like, oh my God, it's like that funny. There's all those memes during Thanksgiving where it's like music industry accounts on Instagram, and it's like explaining to your family during Thanksgiving, what do you do? So what do you do? But no, they're always supportive. I remember my mom finally stopped giving me, it was always in love, but kind of a hard time when we opened up for Hootie and the Blowfish, and then the second one where she really stopped doing it because they were living back in California at the time. She flew in for it. It was Old Crow Medicine Show. They wrote the song Wagon Wheel. But I remember at the show, it was like, it was a huge, I just graduated college, and the weekend after it was this big festival. And there was like, 4,000 people there. And my mom was like, okay. And I was like, all right, cool, sweet, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you play instruments? Like
Yeah, guitar.
Guitar.
I can play the piano, but not like I'm not a pianist. You know what I mean? But I can play the notes. But guitar for sure. Guitar is my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, I've heard you shred a bunch of times.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, you came to Hotel Cafe.
Yeah.
Did you come to Troubadour?
No, I wasn't.
We all
around.
think we met each other yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, guitar.
Do you write your own music? How does that go?
Yeah, I write all of it.
Nice.
Now in the studio, if somebody like the producer or other musicians hey, we should go this way, I always give them credit. And so which you should do. Some people don't do that, but you need to always do your splits where that's a whole discussion. But like mechanicals, publishing, there's a whole bunch of different ways to cut it up. But I write all my stuff for sure. I'm not one of those guys. Like when I used to live in Nashville, now I'm moving back, I used to go do these writing sessions with publishers because I was like, I'm 33 now, I was 25 then. So I was just trying to maybe I should go do this. I'm in Nashville. And you get in these rooms with these people and they'd be like, I'm not hating on that pop country stuff. It's just not my world. But, they'd be like, let's write a song about a Corvette. And I'm like, oh my God. And I remember one time this guy did that. And I was like, man, I got lunch or something. I just left, and I was like, okay, I'm
gonna take my Corvette.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my Corvette out of here. I think that guy said something. He was like, as a joke, just to make you laugh. He said something like, "Man, I'm just thinking of like a 1983 Corvette." It was just like a random year, and I go, "You know what, dude?" On my laptop, I was like, "You know what?" And I was just kind of like, "This is so dumb." I was like, "Look what that car looked like. That was not a good-looking Corvette." He was like, "Oh well, I was like, "Man, this is just not my vibe." And so I learned early on. I was just like, "Okay, that's not for me." But if I write my stuff and I feel really good about it, then I go with a real good producer, not just an engineer.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna make something cool. I mean, there's a formula to it. Some people go too long. I always feel like you always got to go, 3.5 minutes on a song. I love the jam for sure. Like I love old Grateful Dead stuff
nowadays.
But if it's like a song, you got to make it a song. And so I don't know. I've done it. I mean, dude, I got a lot of songs out there. I got 5 more coming out. Yeah, man. So I write all my stuff for sure.
How early did you start writing?
Probably when I was 14, like any other kid, just playing the guitar.
Nice.
Blink-182. That was my
great.
jam.
Where was the first time you performed?
It was a karate dojo.
No way.
Yeah, it was my band called Untitled. We were so bad. None of us sang, and we played "Smell Like Teen Spirit." Yeah, and the drum kit.
At the karate kit. Were you in your karate gear?
No. It was like a church that rented a karate dojo, and they asked us to play their event, and we knew 3 songs. We knew "Smells Like Teen Spirit," "Faded Black" by Metallica, and there's this band called the song's called "United States of Whatever." It's a really stupid song, and we did those 3 songs, and we thought we were rock stars because our parents came.
Oh,
we were
great,
we were 15.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I think my first gig.
Yeah.
First gig. So my first gig, with me kind of leading the band, we played a place in Walterboro, South Carolina, called the High School Hideout, and it was this huge rock club meant for 1,000 people.
Oh my
but
God.
this big DJ from Charleston called Uncle Miles, he's a legend.
Wow.
He moved out there because I think he got into real estate and he had another radio station he was running. And he's like, "Tyler, come play, man. I've heard about you." And they're, it's a high school place, so they're selling Monster Energies. So kids are hopped up on energy, and we're playing. It was so funny. I think we got paid $150. My dad drew me. We felt like rock stars too.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
That's freaking great.
It was fun.
I met Tyler out here in LA, but you've been a lot of places before LA, like you were just mentioning Nashville. When did you go from Charleston to Nashville, or was that the order? What was?
I graduated college 2014. I was like Van Wilder. I changed my major 3 times, and so I eventually graduated 2014. Should have been 2012. But I stuck around for a year, and then I was like, man, I feel like most kids go to grad school. I was like, well, I'm not gonna go to grad school. But I think moving to Nashville is my grad school, and so I moved there 2014 or 2015, and it was a really good learning experience because in 2014 I was having the best time of my life because I had no responsibilities. Rent in Charleston was really freaking cheap, and I was just playing literally full-time music. I was touring,
Wow.
I was already playing big shows. Had a couple songs on regional radio, and so in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm killing it. But also, like, in my mind, I was like, you know, I can't, this is not making it, though. And so I moved to Nashville, and I was super broke, and I had like 6 part-time jobs.
What were some of those, just to give the audience like an understanding of like
dude,
what it was like?
No, it was funny. I worked at a bar. It's called 12th and Porter, famous spot. I think Kings of Leon had their signing there. It's very known as a spot now. It didn't make it during pandemic. It's really sad. Maybe somebody will bring it back. But I worked there as a bar back, and then I learned to not tell bartenders how much you make as a bar back, because then I was so excited because I was so broke. I got tipped out from all the bars. I was like, dude, I made like, you know, this much money tonight. And the bartender's like, huh. And the next day, bar back position was canceled. I was like, you're now a server. I was like, shit. You know, that was really bad. Did that. Worked for my buddy's mom. She had like a cell phone thing where I went around all the state of Tennessee, and I would pick up like licenses to fix radio towers. So like if a radio tower got hit by something, they had to get a license. And so I would go all across Tennessee, and I loved those days because she was, you just have to get these 10 done, and I get paid like I think $100 a license.
Oh wow.
And then we had to get 100 done like in a month, and so I would do like in a one day. I would get up super early, get a coffee, get in my car.
Yeah, you're that guy. Love it.
And I'm just like on the phone, you know, trying to do other stuff. That was actually a cool gig, and I gave it to my friend when I left, because also they paid you by the hour, and like they paid for your gas, dude. It was like for a broke kid, you get that check, and you're like, oh my god, I'm killing it. I tried to do Uber, I kept getting denied. That sucked. Made me thank God I didn't do that. And then I did. I worked on an ice cream truck. Well, a food truck. That was an ice cream truck. That was a freaking ride, because the owner was like insane. And then I worked at a liquor store. That's where I started the idea for Boone's Bourbon.
Wow.
It was just cool. They have a barrel on the wall now. It's a really big liquor store in Nashville. I worked for Crew One, where this was kind of cool, but I was like, man, this is like hard work. It makes you appreciate stuff. Where we set up the stages for like the big shows.
Oh, that's
at, like, the arena.
Okay, cool.
You make $10 an hour. Like, you know, there was donuts and coffee there, but you're like building stages, and like if you don't know what you're doing, you're feeling nervous, and people are yelling at you. And so eventually I got smart, and it's the arena. It's like the Bridgestone where the Predators play. I would just go to the bottom where the rehearsal area is, and there's a million bathrooms down there for like artists.
Yeah.
And I would just lock it and sit there for
Dude,
oh yeah. I was like
that sounds
sucked.
nuts, but that's yeah. Honestly,
sucked.
all these jobs that you just mentioned, like that built bones for what you're doing now across the board. You just mentioned like all these avenues that you have. You mentioned in the beginning. Those kind of sculpted what you're doing now. It's freaking impressive, man.
I feel like if your back's not against the wall, you're never gonna figure it out. Like I'm not hating on anybody, but if, if your parents are always paying your bills, you're never gonna really figure it out. Like I mean, the last job I had, I was like barbecue delivery guy, and I would fuck it up all the time. I would drop off food to the wrong person. I come back, and this guy's a really sweet dude. The place is called Peg Leg and Porker. Amazing spot. He has his own whiskey too, but the guy literally has a fake leg, so Peg Leg and Porker.
Oh my God,
because I think he was like in the military. I could be wrong, but he was always sweet. But I would always get yelled at because I'd fuck up the delivery, and so I'd be driving this big truck. They took the seats out, and I would like take a right turn, and everything would spill over, and I'd get out and put it up. And I remember I went to this one birthday party, and I dropped it off, and it came back. And he's like, "You idiot! You brought the wrong stuff." So I went back as the party's going on. There's tons of people there. I'm just like switching out things.
Oh my God!
You know, I hated that job. And then I got fired because I like showed up late once, and I was like, oh. But anyway, yeah, man, a lot of jobs.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned obviously you have your Boone's Bourbon. Yeah. You're in LA now. Did you start that company before you came to LA?
Yeah.
So tell us about the origin of Boone's.
Yeah, man, thanks for asking. 2015, when I was living in Nashville, I had a big country deal coming my way, and I don't really play that kind of music where it's like about beer and red dirt and stuff.
Trucks,
and so, that kind of stuff. And back then, Florida Georgia Line was huge.
Yeah.
And then Chris Stapleton came out, and it flipped the whole industry because Florida Georgia Line back then, I think they're like on Big Loud Shirt or whatever the company's called. You know, it's like they're pumping out freaking number ones where it's like a million guitars layered, and it sounds like a pop tune, right? Like, girl, I want to see you. Let's get that tequila. Yeah, it's the same stuff. You know, the same 4 chords too. It's usually like a G, D, C, E minor type thing. And so, anyway, I had this deal come my way, and I was getting like all these cool. I mean, I'm not gonna mention who the people are, but it was one of the biggest managers. And anyway. Actually, it was crazy. The band that took my position, I was working that spot, 12th and Porter.
Gotcha.
And they came and running out the venue, and I had to serve everybody, and I just turned down the deal. and that sucked. You know, they're like, hey, Tyler, how you been? And give me a big tip. You know, best of luck, man. I was just like, screw you guys. But then that band that got picked up, I kept thinking like, you know, if I take this deal, because what it is, you know, I know I'm going all over the place, but just to make sense of it, like it's called the Music Row deal, and Dave Grohl talks about it incredibly. We're on Sonic Highways 2016, I think, when that album came out, and the documentary, you know what I'm talking about?
I didn't see it.
It's incredible. They go to every big city in the United States.
Might be watching it soon, though.
Dude, watch it. Like, it's such an amazing concept for an album because they go to all the big cities, and like, you know, they go to Chicago, they hang out with Buddy Guy. They go to Nashville, they hang out with Dan Auerbach, Black Keys, and Zach Brown, and they go to Austin, Texas, Gary Clark Jr., whatever, right? And so when they go to Nashville, they interview Dan Auerbach and Carrie Underwood, getting both the countryside and like, you know, the rock and roll side, and they call it a Music Row deal where they get Vinny, the best looking dude. They get you a pub deal where you're not even gonna write the music. You might get a couple lines in, but it's all the top writers. Then they get you a record deal because to break a single at radio, it's like literally $250,000. Yeah. Because you just have to keep pushing it, and eventually, ding, 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 you hit #1. Now that country star is a product. You go, hey, and that's a big thing in the country world. Like, oh, down Music Row, you see all the banners. Like, we got our first #1. Like, it's a huge thing. And so that was the deal. And I was like, man, I don't even sing like that. I remember in the last meeting we had to go, who's your favorite country star? And I was like, at the time I was like, Will Hogue, and he's more Americana. Yeah. And even though he's had some big, I think Eli Young band cut his song, Even If It Breaks Your Heart, so that became a big country song, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, what I'm saying is, like, I was like, dude, I think it's like the kiss of death. If I mess this up, it'll ruin my name, even though I was so broke. And my roommate at the time was like, you're an idiot, dude. How can you turn that down? Because that's who he wanted to be. He wanted to be like one of those kind of guys. But anyway.
Not for you.
But because of that, that deal and all these like hype, not about me, but because that deal, my buddy's friend, gave me the idea to start a bourbon company. Well, a spirit with
2015?
my name. 2015 with a spirit with my name attached to it. And so I was like, well, my last name's Boone, so bourbon, and bourbon's nicer than whiskey. And bourbon was just really popping off in like 2015. Like, everyone's drank Jack Daniels for years. And so, like, if you remember 15 years ago, craft beer was popping off. There's a new one all the time, you know, because back in the 90s, Budweiser, they literally call it the king of beers. They would say like 18 out of 20 people had a Budweiser in their hand. Do you see anybody with a Budweiser in their hand these days?
Yeah, very rare.
Never. And so those big companies now bought all the microbreweries, and they control it now, right? And so that's what's happening with whiskey. Everyone's coming out with it. They're getting bought out. I think Penelope just got bought out last week by a huge company called MGP. Like, it's wild what's going on. And so I was at this big liquor store, and I was like, you know, you had to learn the stuff when you're selling it. And I was like, oh, what the hell? Angel's Envy, Bullet was becoming big then. I was like, well, there's a lot of bourbons out there, and I had no idea. And so he gave me the idea, and I was like, well, Kentucky's right over here from Nashville. It's not far. Louisville, you know, like the heart of Kentucky. It's like religion there, or heart of bourbon. And anyway, I was like, well, let me figure it out. He goes, you figure it out, I'll pay for it. And so I was like, well, I didn't take that deal. This could be my way to make it. And so
using the bourbon as
a way to be like, hey, check it out, I'm a musician.
Cool.
Yep. And then, you know, it works in a sense because people then take you more serious because there's a business behind you. But also most people assume that it's a like a sponsorship deal. It's like, no, I actually own it, you know. And so blah blah blah. The dude didn't have the money. I'm just gonna run right through it. The dude didn't have the money. 2015, 2017, I moved back to Nashville, or to Charleston from Nashville, because I had to have like a very specific eye surgery. And so when I'm recovering, I was just like, I wonder if there's a distillery in here, because what I learned through, I was going through the TTB, there's all these federal things. I was like literally educating myself online every day. And what I needed was a state license. I got my federal so easy. Yeah. But every state, that's how the liquor industry works. I did this interview with Rob Dyrdek once, because he's got one called Whiskey Leather or something. I forget, or Whiskey Feather. And we're talking about, it's a 3-tier system. It's very hard. And then you have to get every state, you have to get a license. Like, and that's insane, because some states are way harder. Some are very easy. Some are $50. Some are like $300 a year. Like, it's a whole different thing. And so these guys at Straight Pig Distillery at the time, they used to own it. Todd, James, and Johnny were like, yo man, like, we can make this for you, and we can give you your license. I was like, oh my God. So I stuck around for a year, was gigging, saving up money. And then my dad was like, hey, I want to do this with you. I was like, well, then match my money. Wow. And yeah. I mean, dude, it was so cool, because now it's a father-son thing, and, you know, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, and now we know what we're doing.
You guys are still partnered on it?
Yeah. So he lives in Charleston. Now we're with Nipatati Distillery with this guy named Traxler. He's awesome. He makes incredible gin. But yeah, we launched in 2018, and then we did 223 cases, and we just kept flipping it, and then we landed in 26 states because of me touring. But I will say this: we've learned, right? And so it's not best to go super far out. It's best to dig deep. And so now we're only focusing in California, Texas, Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. So those are our states we're focusing on. We're in other states, but those are the ones we're digging deep in. So
putting the focus on.
Yeah, man, that's how it started. It wasn't like I was having a dying sensation to start it. It kind of just happened, and now I'm very passionate about it.
Speaking of that, this passion, everything. What type of doors has opening up the bourbon company had thus far?
Meeting with other entrepreneurs. I didn't know what even the term entrepreneur was.
That.
You know, they're like, "You're an entrepreneur." I was like, "What?" I was like, I own a." It was wild. Because I hate it when you go to a party and they're like, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, or I'm a founder of a startup, and I'm like, whatever, man. You know, like I feel like when people talk too much about it, you don't have enough work going on. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like you should be busy. So anyway, that's all the discussion, dude. But it's led to festivals opening up for people. I get asked daily to sponsor stuff, which I take as a compliment, but. You know, we don't have.
Yeah, we're looking.
Yeah. AF, right here. No, it's led to a lot of cool things, man, and it's leading to more stuff. Like the reason moving back to Nashville is because we have the biggest distributor in Tennessee, and then we just landed the biggest distributor in Kentucky, and we just landed the biggest distributor in Georgia, South Carolina, and now Florida. And so I was like, well, and obviously Texas we have a big one. Actually, the same distributor in Texas, Florida, and Illinois we have a big one, and then California have a big one. But I was like, dude, like all these are connected. I have a beer coming out again. I got to be closer. And then I can't say who, but very, very close to hopefully getting a really big music booking deal. So in Nashville. So that's why I'm moving back.
That's incredible. So it opened up unlimited doors. I'm sure it's just getting warmed up.
I'm not going to mention the guy's name. We have a meeting. We'll see what happens. I never believe it until there's
I'm rooting for
signed.
You.
But
we all are.
Well, thanks, man. But like the guy literally was like, hey, what's up, Tyler? I'm drinking your Boones here. And I was like, oh, it's like, you know, it's just people
freaking out.
It's cool, you know, so.
You and Boone's have been to a few festivals. Now I didn't even understand completely that this was one of the festivals is completely yours. Homegrown.
Homegrown Holy Sedap Fest is mine with two other partners.
Tell me about Homegrown.
Yeah. So on our bottle it says Homegrown, and so that's why we call it that. And then it's a very Southern thing. Zach Brown says that. Hootie says that.
Yeah. I love the song Homegrown.
Yeah. But no one owns that word, so I was like, Homegrown.
There you go. Beautiful.
And so whatever, it fits. But it's, you know, there's focus on our bourbon. There's focus on our beers. Another beer company called Island Coast Lager. Love Scott Hansen and Brandon Perry. They're from Charleston too. They launched the same year we did too, which is pretty dope. But you know, it's got to focus on. I mean, it's just a different vibe. Like
Bourbon music.
Well, no, I mean like the bands that play. So like in LA, you know, I you know, it's more bands playing with tracks, and just different, you know. But and then like in Charleston stuff, people like to see like a Derek Trucks play, or they're like, it's like jam band stuff, but still songs, right? And so it's kind of the focus of the music. It's, I guess you could say it's like Americana, because Americana can be very broad, or it could be jam band, or it could be like a songwriter, or it could be like blues. And so that's the kind of vibe. It's with 105.5 The Bridge, nice. One of my favorite radio stations, and then partner Rob Lamble, Ear for Music, and so anyway, I can't get too much until we announce it, but last year was great. It was the first year. It was like 1,000 people, and it was the launch of my beer, and then now the beer's coming back, and it's gonna be cool, man. We're at a venue this year. I can't see the venue yet to announce it, but it's a venue. We're going from 1,000 people to like 2,500 people.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's going much bigger venue. It's an amphitheater.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool, man. Charleston's a very cool town too, because if you work with 105.5 The Bridge, and you just do the right venue and just the right bands, like people just come out, and so it'll definitely sell out. It'll be cool. But with the other festivals we were with, which I think you're thinking of, is Burn Beyond, Loud Life in Louisville, Kentucky. And Burn Beyond I played last year. It's like Kings of Leon, Jack White, which I flipped out. Alanis Morissette, her first tour in like years that she did, so that was cool. And then Loud Life is more like heavy rock. Like this year's Foo Fighters. Last year, I think, was Metallica.
Oh wow.
So we sponsor those and we're involved, and it's cool because it's in Louisville, and like it's not a beer festival, it's a whiskey festival. So you were wasted if you're not watching yourself. If you're just walking around like, oh, this is tasty, and then you're like, oh my god, it's pretty funny.
That's got to be crazy environments, man.
The fourth day, I'm in my bed by the and they always put you the hotel right by the stages. You could see them; they're huge. And I'm just like hearing Pearl Jam, like, and I'm like, oh, I can't get up, dude. Like, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I can't get over how much you do. So I'm real. Speaking of that, to bring it really full circle, you have your company called Artist Formula. Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that and like what are the capabilities, where you think it's going.
It's a label service company. I started with one of my best buds, Sean Carpenter. He lives here in LA. We met in Nashville. Now it's just fully mine because he's doing other cool stuff. And what it is it's Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, press, and we do verification stuff too. But the biggest stuff is our Instagram stuff and Spotify stuff. And YouTube and press are right there too. But I used to work for a PR company too. Already, like, Artist Formula has been going on since 2017. It's like a couple years ago, and what I learned is like it kind of blows. And it's true. I tell this on the phone all the time when I'm talking to people. Is a lot of PR companies, like, it's traditional. It's like back in the day, they'll be like, hey man, we're your publicist, and it's this much retainer for this many months, and we're gonna kill it. And then all they really do is like go pay an editor a couple $100 or something, and they pocket the rest. And then they're like, hey man, you know what? It was the record. Next one, come back. And so I was seeing that happen, and I was like, man, and it was actually hurting my name. I was like, I am quitting. And so even for our press stuff, like, instead of like a gamble, what am I going to get? It's like, it's a la carte, like, Chinese menu, man. It's like, this is it. This is what you get. This is it. What you get.
Yeah.
Obviously, better
like
the
results
song.
Driven. Yeah.
Better the song, better the results.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy what we can do now. It's evolved so much. It was word of mouth for years, and now it's like, dude, my phone. I mean, I'm blessed though. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that's so cool. I can travel and work with that, and also I use it for my own career.
Yeah, so. It's sick that it's remote too, for the most part.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
I think I got like 500 emails.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I think I've emailed you on at least 3.
Yeah,
but,
nice.
But you have a podcast that you started with the same name.
It was here.
Formula. Yeah, in this setup or studio, I should say.
Yeah.
But how's that going? What's the plan with that? Are you bringing that to Nashville with you when you go?
Yeah. So we call it Industry AF. It's a play on words like as fuck and then Artist Formula. Yeah, it was cool, man. We did 8 here. I had more scheduled, but then this random move happened. Yeah, I'm definitely doing it in Nashville, man. It's cool. It's like, it is. I'm sure you've had it too. It's flattering, but people don't understand. Like, there's cost to this. They're like, hey, can I book my artist on your podcast? And you're like, and I'll be like, you can pay the production. And they're like, well, no, thanks. And you're like, well, like, I'm not gonna go out of my, it's funny. Yep. You know what I mean? And so, but yeah, it's been cool, man. We interviewed some cool people. The next one I'm really stoked about is my buddy Sean. His dad is Bob. He plays in the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and he asked me, he's like, can I be on it? I was like, hell yeah. So when I'm in Nashville and he's in town, we'll do that. And we've interviewed some comedians, and there's a lot of comedians in Nashville, like Steve Byrne.
It's a great show. Yeah, they've been awesome interviews.
Theo Von lives there. Steve Byrne lives there. Steve Byrne? He's awesome. He just moved there. He's been around for a minute. I don't know. Nashville's cool, man. There's a lot of
awesome town.
What's his name? He's from Charleston. Dusty Slay. He's big. Anyway, it's cool, man. Nashville, they call and that's the nickname I call it. They call it like the new LA because everyone from LA's moving there. But it's funny, like if I start drinking, my southern accent comes out.
Yeah, I've been there.
So I bet you've heard it. Hey y'all. And so when
we both have accents.
But when I go out there, it's gonna come out more. Or it's just gonna be 110% always present. But anyway, yeah.
It's good. That's fun. It's authentic.
For sure.
Yeah. A big question I even have just for myself. What you do all these things? What do you do in your downtime? Like when you let your hair down? What goes on?
I do work all the time, but I work for myself, so I enjoy it. And the harder I work, it literally benefits all these things. But I do like to run a lot. I've been really getting into like actually lifting weights because we're getting older, and it feels better.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, right. Oh, no, come on. I had a really nice gym at my apartment I just moved out of yesterday, and I was like, I'm gonna miss it. But yeah, that. And I love dumb, like that like shtick dumb comedy, like Adam Sandler stuff to comedy podcasts. Like I love, and there's been girls like I'm like, hey, let's watch something, and I like go straight to that like, why do you like that stuff? I want to watch a murder documentary. I'm like, I don't want to get freaked out. You know what I mean? And I was like, I like the dumb comedy stuff because I literally have to think about nothing.
Yeah, turn your brain off.
I love like that show Archer. I have watched it from 1 to like 14, see whatever it is. Sunny in Philly, dude. I met those guys too at Bourbon Beyond.
How you telling me?
Oh,
it's crazy.
Glenn Howerton. He's the mastermind behind their whiskey called Four Walls, and they gave all the artists a bottle and a note, and then they were on the same stage as us, and I was like, dude, I have to like try and meet them, and so I ran down there.
Of course,
I see a freaking sprinter pull up. I was like, that has to be them, and there's the whole stage is already filled with like 1,000 people, and I was like, oh my god, and they get out, it's just funny, like, and I think what's his name, Rob McElhenney, Mac in the show.
Oh yeah.
All these interviews, like, it's funny when you see seasons go on and on and on, the people start looking better, and because they make more money and stuff, and so like they get out, they all look incredible. I was like, oh my god, that's them, and they come walking up, and this is like a, people go like, who's your favorite artist you met? I'm like, dude, let me tell you about my favorite comedians. Like they come out and I'm like, I'm freaking drunk too because it's whiskey, and I'm like, and our bar is right here too, so. Gonna try next to theirs, like I'm drinking both Four Walls and Boones, and I'm like trying to take a picture in a video, and their security guard walks in and goes, no, none. And Glenn just literally goes, no, that's Tyler, he's cool. We haven't met yet, but we've talked on Instagram.
Oh my god.
I was like, huh? Like I almost like passed
And this
out.
is the character that plays Dennis?
Yeah, he's just like, he's cool.
Yeah.
That's Tyler, he's cool. And I was like,
great.
what the, and so after that too, then he's just like, yo, dude, like send me a bottle of your Boones, and he's taking pictures with it, and he'll just hit me up every now and then to like talk a little bit about whiskey stuff. But theirs is an Irish whiskey, so they're sourcing it from over there and doing really cool stuff. So
Mac, he's got all the stuff he's got going on in
Wrexham.
London. Yeah, Wrexham, soccer
I saw
club.
an interview the other day. Did you know that maybe it's just where that stadium is or something? Like you can't drink in the stadium.
No way.
And
wow.
so Charlie was down there like drinking a beer, and they're like, we're gonna give you a huge fine. He's like, I didn't know. Like that's crazy. You can't.
I had no idea about any of that.
If I go to like the Dodgers, I'm having like 10 beers.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. You can inhale.
Yeah,
impressive.
I love going to like the new. Have you been to the new Rams? Have you been
No,
there?
I haven't. I went to LAFC though. It was pretty impressive.
Cool. That's awesome.
I gotta go, man. I'm still
My buddy
freshy out here.
My buddy Johnny had seats, like, and so like I was definitely like pampered my first time I went, and then like, dude, people literally fight each other.
I'm sure, man.
like,
it was crazy when I went. There's a certain section like, don't go to that
They're
section.
just like, oh, what'd you say? I was like, I'm loving this. It was so much fun, dude.
Yeah, it's a blast.
blast.
When you end up in Nashville, what's the game plan? And honestly, like, what do you expect the main differences to be from your time in LA versus Nashville?
I will say LA accelerated a lot of things for me in a good way. And so going back there, I was like, I didn't really have much going on. And so, but I've been going back all the time. And so it's like my buddy Donnie Reese called me, hilarious enough. He's like, why are you not here? And I was like, we literally did like a pros and cons list. He's like, you got to get back here. Everything's now set up for you. And so it's going to be pretty cool because I'll if I want to go play, like, I'm not going to go play on Broadway, but there's other cool spots.
Yeah.
Like if I want to go play, like, and sit in a jam just to do it, just to feel good about playing music again, I can go do that any night I want. And then, but, living there, it's gonna be good for the bourbon, for the music. My buddy Ryan Sanchez owns a studio called Laughing Heart Studios. He wants me to help like manage it for him, and so that's gonna be cool because I used to do that a while ago with the guys from Shinedown. We interviewed Hoogie, who is the tech.
I watch
And
him.
so I used to do that for Eric Bass back in the day. But yeah, it's just gonna be cool, man. Like I'll be closer. Like, all right, so here's one big thing about like this area of the country and over there. You can't really tour over here. It's totally different. All my friends that were musicians too told me, goes, you better get your gig fix on before you come here because you don't really do that too often. It's just everything is so spread out. In the Southeast, you can literally make a really insane living by going like, I mean, Texas in itself is its own country, and then go to like Alabama and Mississippi, and then all of a sudden Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Georgia,
The
Florida,
Georgia line.
Yeah, dude. I mean, but
Literally.
like when I used to tour and we used to put on sick tours, you literally drive an hour and a half to your next town. Like you would go to Charleston, Columbia, Greenville, Charlotte, Asheville, North Carolina, which is dope. Nashville. Oh, let's hit Kentucky. Go all the way down to Alabama, Louisiana, and come right back. And you can make a really good living if you could sell a shit ton of tickets. I used to help manage a band called Driving and Crying from the 80s. That's how Artist Forum was born, through them. And that's what they do. The term that Tim Nielsen would always say was, we still make American dollars. Because there'd be promoters and stuff like, you guys have been around for too long. He's like, whatever, screw you guys. We do 2,000 tickets a night in Atlanta. because they have fans. And so I'm saying if you can actually be an artist that
Plus
does that.
people are showing up, you know?
Yeah, dude. And it's cool to get to control it. And so now that I'm going back, I'm like, all right, cool. I can do some tours again. So
that's exciting for you, man.
It'll be fun.
I'm gonna get into my little rapid fire section.
Sure.
Let's rock and roll. Favorite music-based movie?
Queen.
Nice.
That one, I can literally watch that all the time.
The Bohemian Rhapsody one?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I love that movie. You seen it?
Yeah, dude,
Love
fantastic. Favorite live instrument?
You know, sometimes it's really incredible to watch a drummer.
Yeah.
But then Mike Magnan, we had him on here. He plays in the Cult now, and he plays with me. He's toured with me a whole bunch. He plays a B3, but he plays it like electric.
What's a B3?
It's a B3 organ. It's like
Okay,
it's
cool.
like in a church.
Yeah.
But he actually tours with it. It's nuts. What he does is like he plays it like a guitar. It's crazy. Not like this, but like he does all this wild stuff. So you know, but I love drummers. I love drummers.
Cool.
Yeah.
Favorite place you've performed? That's a tough one.
Summerfest is dope in Milwaukee. Done that a couple times. You know, actually no. Here in LA, man, we played the Troubadour last year.
Nice.
That was like I remember the night before I had like a little. It's just like in the shower, you know. I was like, don't fuck up, you know. I mean, like, cause it's like, you know. I was like, are people showing up? And there was like over 300 people there. It's almost sold out technically. So that was cool, man. That's just legendary. You walk in there. You ever been to Rainbow Bar?
No, I haven't. I've been everywhere on this trip besides there.
I mean, there's a lot of. I'm just trying to think of spots where it's like old wood.
Yeah.
You just walk in there and you could just smell like the history there. So that was a cool spot.
I've been to the Troubadour. It's fantastic. Yeah,
it's like the carpet's
freaking
never been
awesome.
changed.
Yeah, no way. Can't do that.
Yeah.
An artist, dead or alive, that you'd love to have dinner with?
Stevie Ray Vaughan, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, he's you know, he's definitely like a guy that like I definitely like, you know. I don't think it was intentional, but my guitar playing definitely sounds like him. It's more just like
nice.
this.
What band was he in for us?
No, he was just Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
His brother Jimmy Vaughan, his green room was right next to ours at Burn Beyond, and my dad was obviously like, my dad's a huge Stevie Ray. He got me into Stevie Ray Vaughan, and so he was like, Jimmy Vaughan's right there. I was like, yeah, it is pretty darn cool. So yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan for sure, because he died. I don't forget how old he was, but he wasn't old, man. So he died in a helicopter crash. There's a lot of badass people that died in helicopters. Don't get in a helicopter.
Yeah, well, nervous. I haven't been in one yet, but
don't do it.
I'd like to. We're gonna wrap up here. Let the audience know where they could find you, some links, and what you got coming up next.
Yeah, man. Just Tyler Boone, TylerBooneMusic.com, drinkboonesbourbon.com. We actually had someone steal our website. That was hilarious. So it's not Boone's Bourbon. Drinkboonesbourbon.com. Artistform.com, just, you know, Instagram, all that stuff. Next upcoming thing, the beer comes back, Boone's Beer. It's only gonna be in South Carolina, and then Homegrown Holy City Fest, September 23rd in Charleston. It's definitely gonna sell out once we announce the headliner.
So I appreciate you coming, man. This is fantastic.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, this was great.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming out.
Cool.